which is that if we want to be happier, we need to give ourselves the gift of self-compassion. Yes, the past, year, few months, COVID time has been pretty stressful, but a lot of the stress comes from the voices that we have in our head. If you think about kind of some of the worst things that you think, you're feeling guilty about stuff, you haven't done these things, like you in your head are kind of being the worst sort of drill sergeant against yourself. And I think we have this sort of messed up theory about what can cause us to be a good person or get more done. We think if we kind of yell at ourselves, if we're super mean to ourselves, then we'll get our acting gear and do a little bit better. But the science shows that this simply doesn't work. In fact, this drill instructor approach has been shown to increase things like procrastination, to cause people to make worse health decisions, not better ones, and to just overall make us feel kind of crappy. But there is a path that we can use to feel better, and it's a path of what researchers call self-compassion. Self-compassion is a whole set of practices that have been popularized by the psychologist Kristen Neff. And she talks a lot about self-compassion as having these three parts that are worth paying attention to. The first is just having some self-kindness. You don't talk to yourself like a drill instructor. You talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. Like you're not kind of too easygoing. You kind of, sometimes, speak the truth about this stuff, but you do so with care. You even touch yourself with care. You can give yourself some self-touch that feels really nice. This is the idea of self-kindness. Neff also talks about the idea of self-compassion as recognizing a common humanity. You are not a robot who is going to be perfect all the time. You are human. And having mistakes, having negative feelings, having things not go your way is just a way to feel connected to everybody else on the planet. I think sometimes educators beat themselves up and hope that they can be, some robot that they're not. But recognizing your common humanity and allowing it to be that way is a real path towards more self-compassion and a little bit more well-being. Finally, self-compassion requires mindfulness. Again, something we've all just practiced with Sarah and beyond, this act of just paying attention to what your body feels like at any moment. And this idea of non-judgmentally allowing your body to be just as it is. These three practices together can be tricky, especially if you're more in the drill sergeant headspace. But talking to yourself with kindness, allowing yourself to be human, and to kind of notice what your voices in your head make you feel like is a set of powerful practices that lead to lots of benefits beyond just improving our well-being. There's evidence, for example, that if we're having a tough time making decisions, self-compassion can allow us to do a little bit better. Self-compassion and people who are more self-compassionate actually eat healthier and save more for retirement, and they do so more easily. When you're self-compassionate, you're not beating yourself up. It can be easier to invest in your future self. There's also evidence that people who experience a little bit more self-compassion are less likely to procrastinate towards the goals they really find important. And there's tons of evidence that self-compassion can improve your relationships, both your relationships with your spouse and your family members and partners and things, but also your relationship with your students. As you extend more compassion to yourself, it becomes easier to extend compassion to the people around you too. And so we all need to lead a little bit of self-compassion. I think the way to do that is to pay attention to the voices in your head and try to use voices that are a little bit more self-kind. Talk to yourself as you would talk to a friend. And when all else fails, give yourself a little bit of self-compassionate touch. The brain doesn't know that it's you doing it versus a close friend. So if you just kind of stroke your arm, just give yourself a little hug. These things are powerful mechanisms just to remind yourself that you're there for you and that you're giving yourself compassion.